Mark Morrison Reed, my friend and fellow member of the class of '79 at Meadville Lombard Theological School, yes, made a very startling statement at the big meeting of Unitarian Universalists, our General Assembly, in Salt Lake City this year. Mark is an African-American, a birthright Unitarian Universalist who came of age and went to college during the height of the Black Power movement, and he has a very interesting story to tell, and he will be telling it to us when he comes to lead a workshop here in April and to occupy this pulpit. You'll definitely want to hear that. This is made possible by the Helen Myers Forum. But at this particular workshop, Mark made an interesting comment. He said that within a few blocks of the church that he and his wife Donna served in Toronto, there were a number of ethnic churches. There was a Ukrainian Orthodox church, there was a Slovenian Lutheran church, a Caribbean Baptist church, and there was also one other ethnic church. It was the Unitarian church. He said, yes, the Unitarian church is an ethnic church because of our roots. European American, New England, that applies some things. A faith more of the head than of the heart. And he said that one of the things that happens, because this is a church of generally highly educated people, is that as our society has more opportunity, as prejudice and oppression decrease, people of other races and cultures can now become part of our ethnic group and are becoming part of our ethnic group, just as our society is becoming more diverse and more comfortable with diversity. And he said, it doesn't matter what we do as long as we don't get in the way. As time goes on, Unitarian Universalism will just naturally become more diverse. Rosemary McNatt also talks about the fact that we have a distinct culture, a kind of a tiny little culture. There are certain things about us that people kind of assume about Unitarian Universalists. For instance, we're Democrats, right? We listen to public broadcasting. We drive a Prius if we can, never an SUV. Now, how much of ourselves do we need to leave in the parking lot in order to fit in to our culture? If you are, say, of a different cultural background than the dominant culture of our congregation and of our society, or if you are, say, a political conservative, how much of yourself do you need to leave in the parking lot? Or if you are in the military, we can, and it's unconscious, put up barriers to being the welcoming church that we want to be. And one of the ways that we do that we have to look at and change, is that too often there is this belief that somehow European American culture is normative, and that everybody here has that history and that experience. And it's just not true. Our congregation is becoming increasingly diverse. Not everybody has that European dominant culture experience and those European dominant culture assumptions. There are some amazing, diverse stories in this congregation. And you can't always tell by looking at people what that diversity is. We don't even see that diversity sometimes. Now, those of you who are in the Hillcrest campus should know, because this homily is going to be videoed and will be presented next week in the South Bay campus, so some of you are listening to this by video, should know that when we began the other campus in Chula Vista, the organizing committee was to a large extent made up of multiracial families. Our staff person who is responsible there in Chula Vista is Mar Cardenas. She's a native of Mexico. She has a degree in multicultural education. She's a new UU and is on fire for our faith. And you should know that in Chula Vista, our sermons are now simultaneously translated, when that is needed, into Spanish. This is happening in the most diverse community in San Diego County. Now, it's not bad that we have our own culture. Don't get me wrong. There's some good things about the fact that we have our own culture, because the dominant culture has a lot of toxicity in it. There's a lot of bad values abroad. There's a lot of dehumanization in the larger culture. And I'm proud of the fact that Unitarian Universalist culture is a counterculture. We offer a different vision of what it means to be human than the culture at large. For instance, we ask people to look deeply at the big questions of life and death for themselves, not with any prescribed answers, and to share that search with others in community. And that goes against the dominant culture, and that's something that we're proud of. We ask people in our community to live with integrity, to constantly strive to bring their actions into congruence with their beliefs, and that's something we can be proud of. People of all cultural backgrounds and races hunger for that. And yes, as Peter Morales, our UUA president, says, we could be the religion of our time if we didn't have this eccentric little ethnic culture that sometimes repels people. Our lens is too small even to hold the stories of the people in this room. Too small with the assumptions about what's normative, what should happen here, how we should do religion, how we should do church. We are becoming an increasingly diverse congregation, and part of it is a lot of years of a lot of work that Journey Toward Wholeness folks that you have met this morning and others have done. And we need to hear the stories of the people who come here now, who don't come from the dominant Euro-American culture, and who have found, gratefully, a religious home here. Slowly, steadily, we can do this. Slowly, steadily, we are doing this, broadening our cultural lens. The goal is to be like this wonderful city community that we live in, a community founded by Latinos before the city ever became part of the United States, where there have been many Native Americans contributing their culture